Is everything you have COD related this week?
No. I have some Valorant, I have some Halo, I have some new organization stuff, and then COD.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Was that a dig, dude? What are you trying to say, dude?
I don't know. That wasn't a dig. I'm just trying to say I'm framing. I like going into it blind, not knowing what your topics are. It's just hard for me when I'm like, tonight's topics include, and then I like type out a bunch of
It's like,
stuff.
oh fuck.
Ah.
That's fair. That's a fair statement you just made.
It's fine.
Apparently not, dude.
It's all good. There it is. That's right. It sounds like Wobots fighting.
Pretty close.
Copy. Paste.
Hop. That wasn't intentional, I'm sorry.
What was that?
I said, Might be, dude.
He used to work with a guy that we would take periodic breaks in between working on projects. This is for Millennial Esports back in the day.
Mhm.
And he all the time we'd like take a Smash break. We'd play Smash 4 and he'd be like, "Meet me in the club. It's going down." All right, guys, time for a lunch break. What's everybody want to do? Meet me in the club. They used to him and another guy we worked with. They formed. We used to play doubles, and they formed a team called the Rabid Dogs. You're like, "You're not ready for the Rabid Dogs." Ruff, 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 ruff. Every time they take a stock, it'd be like, "The Rabid Dogs, the Rabid Dogs."
I'd be so annoyed. I'd start hitting in real life.
Oh, dude, it was great. It was great watching them play other people, but playing against them, it's not so much fun. Rabid Dogs.
Hey, you shut up!
We played 4-stock too. That was the thing. We didn't care. Smash 4-stock.
Baby, do you know what time it is?
Time to kick this mother in.
Welcome to the LFTG Podcast. It's that day of the week, Wednesday, episode 21, baby. We're now old enough to drink, so if you're not, that's cool. No peer pressure here. We live in a very fine and cool society.
I got water. It's all good.
Episode 21, we're going to go ahead and wind down this music here. If you guys are new to the LFTG Podcast, let me break down the show. First, I am your host, Refresh, alongside my other host, here kind of not really.
Here by means of my Linksys router, it's Mohawkmike.
It's
Mohawkmike. Some
Mohawkmike.
hot esports news.
We got some hot esports news and topics today. If you guys do not know, about the show. The Quick Scope is where we talk about multiple esports topics. Basically, it's just like a quick refresher of like, we just kind of go over the topic, explain it, give our quick little opinion, and then it's over. Then we have the Reload, which takes a hot minute, as always. Usually about 5 minutes per topic. Then it usually ends up in a discussion, sometimes a debate, and then we have our upcoming events that we're excited for. But let's kick it off. I think this is the first time I have brought up Valorant. Was actually a pretty hot topic on Twitter and Twitch over this last week, and there's been a couple of reports and a couple of YouTube videos made. Especially if you guys watch the score, a lot of people are complaining about Valorant right now. And what they're complaining about is how easy it is to run and gun in the game. They notice there is a significant, there's not a significant disadvantage for running down a lane and holding down the fire button. And I'm on the fence with how I feel about this, because there's a part of me that's like, well, it's trying to be like Counter-Strike, so it needs to be a little bit slower, methodical, have a little bit more aim have a little bit more skill when it comes to aim, and really getting punished for making bad choices. But on the other side, it's not always a bad thing for someone to run into a room, as someone that spectates games like Call of Duty and Halo, for someone to take control of the game, run into a room, and simply outplay everybody. I mean, if someone's running and gunning, I mean, you can slow down the match to the point to where, like, you could take advantage of that. You can just slow down the game. But I think a lot of people are starting to get frustrated by the running and gunning culture that's starting to happen in Valorant. And I don't know if I necessarily see a problem with it. I mean, I get it. I understand you want the game to be a little bit more slow and tactical. I mean, what do you think about this?
Well, I think that the biggest comparison here, like you said, like the game is very much modeled. It's supposed to be a tactical shooter, similar to like a Counter-Strike. But the thing is, like, having the roles is really what's kind of trying to set them apart. Specifically, if everybody in the game can play DPS, then it kind of breaks that whole mechanic of having different roles and having, the different agents, the different characters that you're using to use their abilities to kind of maximize the actual like team effort going in. I'm okay with it. I think honestly where a lot of the complaint is coming from is like people who are a lot of, Counter-Strike veterans are used to like bullet spray reacting differently, or, I will say this. As someone who's played Counter-Strike and as somebody who's played Quake, I think it's way closer to Counter-Strike than anything else.
Oh,
but like
yeah.
I'm still of the mentality that I crouch and aim lower when I'm shooting. Whereas Valorant, like the damage ramping is way crazier. So the fact that you can peek a corner and take on like a 2v1 with like 2 quick headshots way faster than you would in say like Counter-Strike, or being slowed down more when you're shot. Like there are differences there, but I think that's the pace of this game. It's just we shouldn't force it into a hole that it's not going into.
Right. I agree with you 100% on that. I think we're on the same page. Let's go ahead and move forward. So, I mean, as you guys know, I am a huge CDL fan, and this is kind of Call of Duty news and kind of not Call of Duty news. So the Washington Justice, which is an Overwatch League team, has now publicly expressed interest in possibly purchasing a CDL spot. So maybe this is more rumors of them for sure expanding this next year. We thought they were going to expand this year, but they didn't. Obviously, COVID happens. They wanted to make sure we had live events. We'll get into all of that later. And another big personality. We've talked about Lando Norris before, but now Lando Norris has specifically said he wants a CDL team as well. So this is 2 possible branches of expansion. DC would be a great spot for a team, and I would hope Lando Norris picks somewhere else. I want to say he's from Spain. Let's find out. Let's find out where Lando Norris is from real quick. But while I look this up, oh, he's British. Oh, okay, so we could see another UK team. I would like to see someone outside of the US pick up a spot. I think that would be super important for the game. I would like to see Spain. I would like to see Heretics come back. The owner of Heretics recently just had a huge pop off on Twitch, so maybe some money is coming in there. But yeah. I think we have a lot of outside entities now looking at the CDL as a possible investment and a successful investment at that. So I think it's all
Well,
I think it's all good news.
what's great about this situation too is like you look at it like I think like having 2 new expansion teams a year should be the goal anyway. So you technically already have the next 2 already slotted in. Like people are obviously showing their interest. Like, you know, more, keep growing and keep this growth
Right.
growing is obviously what they want to do. But having like the 2 speculative organizations already kind of like tentatively locked in as far as like expressing like, hey, we're down, like let's just sign the paperwork, like I think is tremendous.
I think with a game like Call of Duty, you can reasonably work your way up to 24 teams.
Yeah, easily.
Easily. Because you have so much talent all over the world. You need Australia. You have Spain in there. Italy was starting to get good at one point. Even some of the Asian teams were getting good. Like, yeah, we have room. But let's move on. We'll talk more about the CDL later. Let's talk about another shooter, a very colorful shooter at that.
Yeah, this one's right hot off the presses. Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct earlier today. They announced a lot of things, including like the newest edition of Smash and a bunch of other games that are coming out. But more importantly, they announced at the very end of the Direct, it's not actual in-game footage, but they announced Splatoon 3, which will be coming out. They're proposing it's going to be somewhere around spring, summer of 2022. So not for another year are we going to see this. But more importantly, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I'm more intrigued. We're getting another installment in Splatoon. Not just that, but if everybody remembers that original like press release video for the Nintendo Switch, they actually featured Splatoon, kids in the locker room taking their Switches, playing it on a stage in an arena, like basically set up this whole premise that like Splatoon they were going to push as like this big esport, tons of tournaments. Nintendo has done that, just not to the scale that we kind of all hoped and imagined.
Right.
And the community is self-sustained. And it's really, Splatoon is a really international game. If you've never watched it competitively or even watched like the actual Nintendo events themselves. So I'm curious now, with the continued support for Splatoon, and I'm presuming it's going to be on Switch. I don't think that Nintendo is going to be releasing a new console anytime soon, especially within another year.
Yeah.
Could this be the potential? Could we see more potential for Splatoon esports actually from a Nintendo standpoint with officially backed tournaments and maybe a tour? We don't know.
This is interesting to me because the last thing that we talked about with Splatoon was how Nintendo was kind of in hot water with them for the free Melee thing. So maybe this was just like, okay, well, we're going to release Splatoon 3. Do they actually support it competitively? I mean, they've received some support, obviously not to the scale which we hoped, but by not reaching that scale, it almost shows more of a lack of support. I think the Splatoon community's expectations were really high, but I think this is a really good way for Nintendo to kind of put a Band-Aid over that whole free Melee incident that they had not too long ago and possibly move on from there. But speaking of new games possibly getting announced, there's a whole convention ready to go. Speak to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. BlizzCon this year, not only did it get postponed slightly, but it's going to be all online. So if you guys are unaware or definitely want to check out as far as what's coming up from Blizzard, February 19th and 20th, it will be free to view online, the whole BlizzCon online experience. They're going to have their traditional, panels about World of Warcraft. They're going to have new Hearthstone expansions. They're going to, everything news that we're kind of used to seeing. But more importantly, what is the status of Overwatch 2? We have an entire league based around this game, based around this franchise. We all thought with the announcement last year that they'd be switching over, similar how to Call of Duty League, which is within the same wheelhouse because of Activision.
Mm-hmm.
They're switching games into the new season. Are we going to see Overwatch 2 push over, or are the rumors true? Is it going to be delayed and we're going to get Overwatch 1, the original, quote unquote, as the game played in the league again? Could the league get postponed until the game comes out? We don't know. There's no new content that has been scheduled or at least made aware to the public. All the characters are locked in. The meta is fairly locked in as the standpoint. I think this is a huge moment for the future of Overwatch League, specifically with this possible transition to a new game, or are we just going to get a bunch of like invitationals and another Worlds event? while they're trying to stave off until Overwatch 2 comes out.
I think they should do a Worlds event to delay for Overwatch 2. They should do like a World Cup style event where countries form their teams. And then proceed from there. I think Overwatch 2 needs to be the next one because it's going to be super hard unless they do like a mid-season switch, which would be crazy. I mean,
I could see that being next to impossible. I don't know.
I could also see it being kind of hype. Being like, oh, who adapts to the meta quickest? Let's find out. It'll probably be San Francisco like it has been for the last 2 years. But let's find out. No, I think they should do a World Cup style event. They should push the event back and then work their way out from there. I don't think they should run. I mean, the league and their management has changed. Because a lot of people don't know, the CDL management and the Overwatch League management have now merged. It's all commissioned by and the CDL is being ran fantastically so far. So I can see them actually taking their time and really making sure everything's polished. Speaking of the CDL, we have a mouthful for you today. So much so, I forgot to pull something up.
I just know that you were super excited for this weekend. We got the first official week is in the books. I got to tune in a little bit and watch. One thing while you're doing this transition, I want to talk real quick about just the broadcast overall. For anybody that didn't tune in, you can go check the VODs. They're all on YouTube again. All of the CDL content is going to be on YouTube, nothing on Twitch because of their partnership. But more importantly, the use of virtual sets, making it look as though the commentators were in studio, and the actual content that was played ahead of their matches, basically when they did like the look like, hey, let's check out the team before we get into the match specifically. Some of that content, you could tell that the content itself was either produced by the teams independently, and they basically just had to meet a criteria like, hey, we're looking for a video, between this long and this long. We want players, we want clips, we want this and that. The Subliners video was phenomenal. I love the fact they actually had footage of they were interviewing people on the streets of New York. They were talking about their team. You had fans that were wearing jerseys talking about how excited they are for the upcoming season. The one for Faze Clan was absolutely just doo-doo in comparison. Just the dichotomy of here's the content to actually push our team forward and seeing where everybody took that. I thought it was amazing. And it was great filler too. It was great filler in between matches.
Okay, we are just about where I want to be. Holy moly. I don't know why, because I want to talk about challengers. They make it so hard to find. Okay, I think we got it. Okay. Perfect. All right. I'm not going to set a timer for this. I'm going to talk really fast. I'm going to condense it down as much as we can. First, we're going to start with the CDL Challengers League. We're going to start with Challengers Elite. I'm just going to say what the standings are and wins and loss ratio. I'm not going to go into all the craziness. So after today, we have Westar still on top, 5-0. Subliners Academy is 5-1, so Westar still needs to play a match this week. Team Z, 3-1. UT Crew at 4th, 3-1. HYXR at 5th, 3-3. Maki, built by gamers, are sitting at 6 and 7. They're both 1 and 5, and Mr. Midmaps is 1 and 6. So obviously, there's a couple of teams that aren't looking too hot right now. They're playing a round robin. I think they each got 2 more games to go over these next 2 weeks, and then the bottom 2 teams and the top 2 teams from Challengers Cups with points will meet, and then they'll play a single elimination bracket. And then the rest of the top 6 will play a single elimination bracket with seed 1 and 2 get buys. Europe, we have Orglis at first, 5-2. Train Hard, second, 5-2. So they're tied, but I think Orglis has a map point over them. Obtain.
Orglist is the best name for a team ever, especially for an amateur team. I love it. I think the only other one that I see was I used to see one in the HCS that was sponsor us, please.
Yeah, sponsor us, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obtained Esports is third. Connect 4 fittingly is fourth. Rams is fifth. Singularity sixth. House Tarth is seventh. Team 3G was 0 game wins at all, 0-7 at 8th. That was Challengers. That was what happened with Challengers last week. Now we're going to go over what we predicted for the CDL. So, there was a lot of upsets. We're going to go over the games and the scores. We're going to go into too many details. But we literally predicted half of these matches right because of all the upsets. The first one was LA Thieves versus Minnesota. We had Minnesota winning, and they lost Minnesota 3-2. Then the second match we predicted correct, which was Dallas 3-0 Seattle. The third match the next match we predicted correct, Optic 3-0 Paris. Then the next one was correct, Atlanta 3-0 LAG. And then the next one was correct, LAG 3-2 over Paris. I think you actually went for Paris on this one.
Yeah.
And then we have Florida versus Toronto. We predicted this incorrect. Toronto 3-1 upset over Florida. Then we had another minor upset. We both predicted New York to beat LA Thieves, but LA Thieves clean sweeped them 3-0. Every single game was super, super close, and Clay was very upset at the end of the series, yelling in the player cam. It was very intense. And then we had Seattle versus London, which we predicted exactly correct, which was 3-2 for Seattle. And then we had Dallas versus Minnesota with the upset of the weekend. Minnesota 3-2 over Dallas. And Atlanta versus Chicago. We predicted this one incorrect. We predicted Optic was going to win in the 3-2. It was actually Atlanta. And Atlanta smoked Chicago in the Search and Destroy.
Yeah.
First map was 6-0. And the second map, I believe, was 6-1. Scumpy dropped 0-6 on the first map. I now feel infinitely more confident about going negative in a game of league play. Because after watching that performance, it was wild. Now, let's go over the second weekend of the CDL predictions, but it is pretty interesting. The second weekend has been postponed, so no matches will be happening on Thursday due to weather in Texas. As you know, a lot of these players moved to Texas. So, I mean, I saw a video of Mac Melt's apartment, a player from New York, and there was water. It looked like someone had a hose above, like, a heating vent, and it was just pouring out of the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy weather, especially, and you mentioned it before, a lot of the teams and a lot of players now are based around the Dallas area, within Texas. And with Texas, a lot of them are without power. Hope that everything is well. A lot of pipes bursting. When you set up your infrastructure not really prepared for something like that, it's absolutely devastating. But I also want to give a shout out real quick to Hastro. Tweeted out earlier, he saw one of the videos of one of the many like apartment complexes that literally had like water that was like gushing out of the ceiling, but was also freezing, like frozen on ceiling fans and stuff like that. Actually, one of the videos that went viral on Twitter, he reached out and was like, "Hey, I read your profile, see that you're located in the Dallas area, says you like esports. I'm gonna mail you some hoodies. Like, let's make sure, let's get you nice and warm, nice and cozy." To which the individual replied like, "Hey, let's set up an actual fund. Let's try and get support out here to these people." But the fact that you have the winning champion org literally not out here trying to push selling hoodies, but instead giving them away for free.
Well, if they sold more hoodies, they might have been Minnesota this last week, but
That's true.
I was terrible. That was just a joke. I mean, props to Astro. I mean, that's big ups supporting your community, but easily the biggest upset of the weekend.
Oh, absolutely.
Now let's go ahead and move on with predictions. This next week we have some more bangers of maps, of course, every week as we do. We have starting off hot with LAG versus Florida Mutineers. I think Florida's going to 3-0 easy. I think this is going to be a 3-0 for Florida. I think they're going to be pissed after losing to Toronto. Toronto has always been that team that's kind of just been like a wall for some of these top teams. A lot of people forget, but they actually won the last home series event against Atlanta Faze in the final last season.
Yeah.
I think Toronto's going to keep that up. Speaking of Toronto, they're playing Optic Chicago, and I think this is going to go all the way to Game 5, and I'm going to go ahead and predict an upset here. I'm going to predict that Toronto is actually going to win this 3-2, and it's going to be solely because of the search and destroy.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation, especially based off the games last weekend.
Then we have a banger of a match, which is obviously supposed to be the first match on Friday, but we'll see when this gets postponed to. We'll know tomorrow what the new schedule is going to look like. We have Seattle Surge versus the Minnesota Rocker. Man, this is going to be hard, but I got to have faith. Seattle's got to win one this weekend, and with the other team that they play, I think they're going to win this one. I think they're going to win 3-2, and it will be because of the search and destroy. Seattle actually did look pretty okay in the search and destroy. London was the first time that when they played London was the first time they won both their search and destroys in a series ever in CDL history. So I'm going to keep up that trend. Do you agree with me?
I'm going to say 3-1 Minnesota, especially after the showing they had last weekend. I'm giving Seattle the benefit of the doubt. I want to give them at least one, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Another interesting match, which I believe this is going to be a 3-0. It's New York Subliners versus London Royal Ravens. I think Clay is pissed. And when Clay gets pissed, he teaches people. He's like a mad substitute teacher that you care about. And I think they're going to win because of it. I think New York Subliners are going to win 3-0. After watching how close those games were against LA Thieves and how mad he was after that series, you can tell he really cares about this team. And there was just a couple of moments where there was just a mistake of plays. London Royal Ravens have back-to-back games. However, it is the following day. It is London versus Dallas Empire, and I think this is going to be a 3-0 Dallas.
Heck yeah. No way.
We said that about Minnesota.
If London pulls off 2 upsets, literally,
Dallas is chalked if they lose. Dallas is the worst team in the league if they lose. If Seattle can beat... I mean, it's math, right? Dallas beats Seattle. Seattle beat London. That means Dallas should beat London. But Gunless was only playing on 60 hertz because he forgot to change monitor settings there at Dallas, and then dropped a 50 bomb against London. So who knows? But it should be a 3-0. Then the second to last game of the night, we have LAG versus Optic Chicago. I'm going to say 3-0 Optic, and I think it's pretty simple. I think... Actually, I'm going to go 3-1 because I believe LAG will win the first Search and Destroy. As of right now, I have zero faith in Optic's Search and Destroy game. And it's there for a reason.
I was going to say, based off of the kickoff weekend, it should be an easy squeeze for Optic. But again, this is the actual season.
Yeah.
I say 3-1 as well.
I thought our predictions were pretty good the first week, but we literally went half and half just because there's so many upsets. And then our very last match was supposed to be on Saturday. We have Toronto Ultra versus Atlanta Faze, and I think Atlanta will win, but I don't know if they'll win convincingly.
I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think that's going to be a 3-2 for Atlanta. I think it's going to be a lot closer. It honestly, I could see it going Toronto's favor, just if they play their hearts out, but I feel like Atlanta has just got it in the bag.
Yeah,
but it's going to be close.
After watching Atlanta Search, though, I think if it does go to a Game 5, I don't think Toronto wins that. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it more, I'm honestly leaning 3-1. Maybe Ultra can get defense on control and just kind of roll with the punches on that, but I think Atlanta should win this pretty convincingly. I think if Toronto takes a map, it's going to be a close map. But when Atlanta takes these maps, I think it's going to be a steamroll. First match on Sunday, we have Paris versus Florida. I'm actually going to go with Florida in the 3-1. I think it's not going to be too convincing. I think Florida still has a lot of work to do. Skies, I still believe, is underrated. I think Skies is going to have a phenomenal phenomenal weekend against the teams that he's playing. So if you have him on your fantasy league, you should be able to really pick up some points. And then on second match on Sunday would be Seattle Surge versus the LA Thieves. I predicted Seattle was going to win one of them, and that's all I needed. But I don't know who's going to be the easier win. Are Thieves going to break down? Is Seattle going to play too slow and smart for them? Nah. I think the Thieves is going to win this. I think Thieves might win this 3-0. I think we underrated the Thieves coming into the first weekend after watching them during the kickoff. But I think I'm feeling Thieves might 3-0. I really hope not. I mean, look at me. I really, really hope not. But for something's telling me it's going to be a 3-0 and a handshake.
Yeah, I feel like, especially watching that match against Subliners, I feel like, I think LA, we kind of like, we kind of underrated them. I mean, here's the thing. I would love to see Seattle. I'd love to see like a 3-1. Even a 3-2 would be great.
I would love to see Seattle just hot 3-0.
Yeah, I will, of course. But I'm talking within like the realm of possibility here. I don't think it's gonna be a 3-0 for Seattle. Okay, but it's probably gonna be a 3-1 for LA.
I'll agree. I'll definitely agree with that. I think if Seattle does win a map, it's gonna be the Search. I have confidence in their Search this year just by watching how they play, and their communication was pretty good. And then our final match of the weekend would be New York versus Minnesota Rocker. Man, it's not. I feel like the clear choice is Minnesota here.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a bait and switch for me.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go opposite, right? Because right now you and I are 5-5. I'm willing to go the opposite. I'm willing to put it on the line with New York this coming weekend. And I'm willing to say they're going to do it convincingly, 3-1.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm willing to say they're going to do it convincingly. I think this is where you and I, besides,
listen, Minnesota beat Dallas. Anything can happen.
I know anything could happen, but something's telling me this New York squad's coming out hot.
They're for sure going to come out hot. I think so too. I'm going to say, I really don't want to predict Minnesota 3-2. I want to say 3-1, but I feel like 3-2 is more accurate for sure. I feel like in my heart, that's the smart play. Is Minnesota 3-2? It's going to be a close series, but yeah, Subliners could just flat out come out with a vengeance and just do some hot steamrolling this weekend for sure.
Okay, I have all of our predictions written out. Remember, you and I are 5-5. We'll have to figure out something at the end of the season. Maybe we'll do gifted subs or something like that. But yeah, there's our predictions for week 2, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap all of this up with a tiny little inkling of news that we have. Rumor has it that Sledgehammer is going to do it. The race that we talked about is off. Sledgehammer is going to do it. However, maybe a little bit of bad news. Who knows? I can't really tell the future. But the next COD title is rumored to be a World War II timeline, a game again. And last time that happened, we didn't like the game too much. Mostly, honestly, if World War II had a trophy system and it just had better maps, I don't think the game was that bad. I think the ranking system in the game was really good. It was just with the maps and everyone nade spamming, the game was hard to watch. And I think that was... We talked about CDL being postponed. Now, the big thing that happened over the first weekend of CDL was there was an interview with Temp, and David Vonderhaar, which is the lead over at Treyarch, posted a picture of the Atlanta Faze schedule thing. And at the bottom of that picture, it says August 9 through 15, and it says CDL. That is a perfect date for champs. That's a really long time. I think they're going to split it up how they did last year, and I think those are going to be your dates for champs. Now, fast forward to the interview with Temp. Temp, I think, accidentally linked this info, but he said he's super excited to play his first champs on LAN. He's excited to get his first LAN win at champs. So I think there's a lot of info to take away there. I think those are the dates, and I do think champs will be on LAN. Whether we'll be able to spectate them or not will be up for debate. but at least the teams will be having a good time on LAN. Now, with everything I have just talked about, what are your thoughts?
Well, I feel like it was a strong showing for the first week. Like we obviously had like the kickoff for COD. The amateur teams are still showing up, still playing super well. I think one of the biggest takeaways here now too is knowing that the way the league is structured, they're smart enough to know, like obviously like the natural disaster this weekend, like a lot of the teams are unable to
Right.
play, but also too like they have a lot more planned and in the bag than we know about. More specifically, I'm going to throw you a kind of twist here. Even if the next game is going to be a World War II style game, or however the game develops, could we possibly see Cold War extended into the second season? And this is more of just a game intended for sales and more of a casual audience without actual rank, without actual,
Yeah.
pro tournaments and stuff like that. I mean, who knows where Activision Blizzard is at right now, especially like we talked about earlier with Overwatch 2. Like,
Mm-hmm.
could we see an extension of a game? Could we see a 2-season stretch for a game?
I would like here in a perfect world, this is what I would like. I would like Treyarch to have control over the multiplayer experience. I would like Sledgehammer to take over campaigns, and I would like Infinity Ward just to hold on to Warzone. And I would like all of them to be able to play each one, rank up in each one, like because right now, if you rank up in Warzone, you rank up in Cold War. If you rank up in Cold
Yeah.
War, you rank up in War. I mean, they already have the formula for that, and I don't see World War II being the end all be all
Doesn't really fit into
multiplayer.
that ecosystem.
But I also don't see Cold War. I mean, I, my, I Cold War would be an infinitely better game if you had a pick 10 class system with the amount of attachments you can put on weapons and the amount of customability you can have in multiplayer. You can make a lot of things really overpowered, and I think with that format would have to change for Cold War to stick around more than a year. If we go back to the Pix 10 system, like kind of like how Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3 was, I think the game would be infinitely better. You wouldn't have a ton of attachments on guns. The perks wouldn't be crazy. The wild cards would be risky to run. I think that would be a game we would play for years. But realistically, I don't see that happening until possibly the next Treyarch game, which would be 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Maybe it would happen with the next Infinity Ward game, but I think that would be a massive mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they don't care enough. But super interesting week in the CDL. Hopefully the news calms down a little bit so we can just go over predictions next week. Remember, we are going to have a week or two break from predictions and talking about the CDL because after the major, there'll be nothing to talk about. Now, let me update you with some Halo. I'm going to set the timer for 2 minutes. Just because I want to kill it. I want to get through this. We do have actually quite a bit of Halo news, but I think I can kill it here pretty soon. All right, we're going to talk about the top 8 teams that happened in the first pro tournament for Season 3. We have KC Pioneers, Dirk, Mini, Soul Snipe, and Talik, which previously played in the last 2v2 Halo series that we held. So good job for them. Beating out Sentinels, which took second place, which was Frosty, Royal 2, Snakebite, and Trippy. Still no Lethal. I would like to see Lethal come back. Then we have Cloud9's official roster. They didn't wait. Eco, Penguin, Renegade, and Stellar taking third. So good showing by them. C9's first. Inconceivable. We have Bound playing in our events. Boo Boo Doo, Saiyan, and Falcated, which also plays in our events. So good ups by them. Fifth place, we have Commonly, Envor, Jazero, and Super CC, which play for Flyers. We have Status Quo coming back, my favorite Halo organization besides Carbon. After Carbon, then go Status Quo because Carbon kind of fizzled out, after Halo 2. We have Ace, Arctic, Sabinator, and Suppressed. I would like to see a little bit more colorful squad for a team name like this, but hey, man, I got Status Quo to root for again. Elevate. Officially signed Carmia, Nero, Simply Fear Me, and Vemzy. Carmia, we talked a little bit about last week. Super young kid, developing talent. I think has a lot of potential moving forward in Halo. I'd like to see them in a Halo Infinite as well. And then we have Cobra Kai rounding off the event, which was Bomax, Eli Elite, Nemesis, and Swish. So, I mean, the only really big thing here is Sentinels wasn't first place. I think as the season goes on, I think they're going to practice a little bit more. I would like to see Lethal instead of Trippy. I think even Eco, even though Eco's on Cloud 9, I think Trippy is not fast enough to fill in for that squad. Frosty's really fast. Royal 2 and Snakebite are, like, they're pretty slow, but they're very methodical players. But I don't know if Trippy is fast enough for their squad. We'll see. And then we have the team that won the Latin was Team PK, and team that won EU was Cartel, which is Jimbo, Legend, Rizka, and Shady. So good stuff from the first pro scene. And now we have two things of news. The Esports Arena is taking over. So every Sunday at exactly the 12 p.m. Pacific time, so we're going to have to figure some things out. They're doing $1,000 4v4 tournaments. The Microsoft Halo events are back. Microsoft Sundays, $1,000 4v4 tournaments. You guys can register. You guys can go to Esports Arena and go there. Also, Esports Arena is also doing the Kellogg's, yes, like the cereal, $25,000 Halo 5 free-for-all tournaments. They're doing, it's all qualifier based. Starting April 18th, it's free-for-all. And they have 500, I think they have about 600 spots in their free-for-all. And then when you go to qualify on May 5th, oh my gosh, 16th of May is the grand final. They're going to take the top 8 players from these qualifiers and are going to be put into a 1v1 bracket for $15,000. So, good stuff by Esports Arena, hosting a lot of Halo events. I wish it wasn't Sunday on 12 p.m. Pacific time, but we'll figure all that out.
I'm more intrigued that they're wrapping up the free-for-all tournaments with a series of 1v1s, because we kind of saw how well that worked out last time for Halo.
Hey, it worked out fine. No one no one thought Ace was gonna win it.
Yeah.
No one thought Pistola was gonna choke and ego challenge him. But honestly, that was Pistola's fault.
Yeah.
Finally, we have some different news. Pro players are getting banned on Twitch.tv. Tell me why.
Well, this is more of a theory crafting exercise. This is more of a discussion to kind of talk about, like, what is the potential of, Twitch's terms of service really impacting the landscape of esports and maybe even their own viewership. But very, very popular League of Legends player for G2, Jankos he was rumored that he was Twitch banned, and then it was confirmed that he was Twitch banned, and then it turned from, like, it was supposed to be like a 3-day ban. Some were even saying as high as, like, maybe a week-long ban for some content that he showed on his own personal stream. Turned out it was only a 24-hour ban. Now, the reason this is important is because according to Twitch's terms of service, a banned individual is not allowed to appear on Twitch, whether it be on their channel or someone else's channel. Now, you would think, like, okay, like, let's say, like, I do something stupid on my Twitch channel, right? Well, if I show up on your Twitch channel, Alex, like, obviously there's more stupid things I could do. This is more of like a personality kind of, clause that's in the terms of service. But nobody ever thought about what happens if this happens to a high-profile esports player that is then scheduled later that week to actually play in a huge esports event that happens to have thousands and thousands upon thousands of viewers, and then they're not allowed to compete simply because they're not allowed to show up on the broadcast. Well, that is what we're talking about. So the ban turned into officially a 24-hour ban. He was not allowed to stream on his own channel, but because of that 24-hour ban, he was able to show up 2 days later on the official LEC broadcast. Now, again, like, G2, very prominent team. Yeah. Imagine them having to substitute a player. Imagine any esports team having to substitute a player because they are currently banned on Twitch. This is something that I've never thought about before, something that I think is kind of like a newer situation to come up with it.
Did this happen with XQC in the Overwatch League at one point?
that's what I was gonna say, is that the whole thing with XQC is like eventually that became a meme. But the thing with that is Overwatch League was kind of like more, I don't know, like Overwatch League was already kind of in hot water, especially with like the Pepe memes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody just kind of took it as a joke, and they were like, haha, XQC, like, you know, his personality, like this is bound to happen. Whereas this, I feel like Twitch maybe took a little bit of leniency. And once it kind of came to their attention, was like, okay, we'll make it a 24-hour ban. That way he could still compete. Obviously, we don't want to cannibalize our viewership. But, you know, there's a whole possibility out there, a whole world of, imagine, okay, you see it in traditional sports where like a player for like the NFL will get like arrested for a DUI or
Right.
have some kind of like you know, maybe a fight at a bar or something like that, you know, some kind of criminal charges that are brought against them, and then they have to sit on bench. But the thing about that with traditional sports is like, you know, it kind of like launches the profile of this individual. Like
Right.
if you look at like a lot of the players that, you know, oh, they're the bad boy, or oh, they're not going to be able to play this week. The NFL kind of plays into it, whereas the LEC, I think League of Legends was like more scared. They're like, we don't want anything to happen that shows our game and our players in a negative light. So they just kind of swept it under the rug. 24-hour ban, come back, everything's fine. But it's interesting to see that your personal actions can take effect in the league that you're competing in. And we've seen some players in the COD League kind of also getting some hot water as well, but that wasn't because of bans. That was more so against the actual terms of service of the league themselves and playing other games and using other promoted content. It's just an interesting time we're living in to see all of this kind of happening at once.
I think the best thing that Twitch could do to not the purpose as a ban is for punishment, right? Like as a Twitch ban for punishment. And the same thing with like getting benched at all. If you get benched for doing something stupid outside of the game, it's a punishment, and you shouldn't be rewarded for it by having all eyes on you. I think what Twitch should do is they should, I mean, obviously ban that user's Twitch, and then they need to go to a league. They need to make an exception clause for professional players. And they go, hey, he can play. Don't interview him, and basically keep the camera off of him. Like, let him play his match. Keep the camera off. I mean, if he has his face cam, his reaction cam, that's fine. But no analysis, no interviews. Like, you give that player less exposure as possible, but they get to play their match. I don't think, or you.
Do you think though at the same time that Twitch would actually go to like the LEC and be like, hey guys, you showed somebody who was banned on Twitch, like we're gonna have to like hit you guys with a strike.
The company's big enough, in theory, they should, because it brings in enough viewership, but they won't. So I don't know. I think they're stepping around a pot of boiling water right here. I think they need to be careful of what they do. I don't think they should overreact, because then this player is going to get too much attention. But I don't think they should take zero action. Does that make sense? Like, I mean, they need to find that fine line. And I believe it's talking to the league, no interviews, don't even throw their Twitter handle up if you throw Twitter handles up. Like, they're there for the match. That's it. That's
well,
that's
they
all
do
say.
like with it actually being like a structured league, like there are alternates. Like they could bring somebody up from their like AM team, they could put another substitute in.
Oh yeah,
but that
players.
Like again, like
yeah,
that affects the actual promotion themselves, the actual organization.
Yeah, I mean, it's player management.
You're not getting benched.
It's player management.
Player for being benched on Twitch, like that's the problem.
It's player management thing though. Like if your league is being broadcasted on a certain network, then there's the rules apply. So if you get in trouble outside of the game, maybe they do need the bench player, bring in a substitute, and then that's part of your player management. And that makes picking up players a lot more interesting, because you have players in the CDL like. Not going to name it. Well, I mean, you have Parasite on London right now, and Parasite hasn't done the best job outside of the game keeping his personality up, and that's a PR nightmare. So if you have someone acting up or breaking terms of service outside of the esport they're competing in, that's a PR risk when you pick up that player, and I think that's just how it goes. So the team managers need to deal with that. I think Twitch is in the right here to ban them. I think Twitch could have taken action and force them to substitute. But actually, I'm going with that. Don't let them play. Don't let them be on stream at all. Make the team substitute. That players now a liability, and that's your punishment. Not only do you get a 24-hour ban on Twitch, but now you're a liability to your org, and they don't know if they can trust you. That's how it is. But let's roll it in. Let's roll it into the last reload topic, and that is going to be some esports arenas, right? Well, one particular in, was it Frisco?
So Fresno. This is Fresno Unified School District. Super cool to see. They have announced they're actually opening their own esports arena facility that will be used for the actual school district. They are the largest school district in California. The aspect here that I think is really interesting is that they're converting an old woodshop facility at one of their middle schools into this esports arena. So they actually received funding from the school district. They got bonds, $1.5 million to convert this space into a state-of-the-art esports arena. Again, all for high school esports. Watch the video. Kurt Madden, who is the chief technology officer there, was talking about how the whole premise here is that they're trying to get their kids' foot in the door for collegiate esports, specifically stating that there's over $9 million worth of scholarship money in just California alone. So we're seeing kind of a passing of the guard here. When I was in high school, we organized our LAN events actually in the high school cafeteria. We would actually take computers from the computer lab down to the high school cafeteria to actually play our events there. But then in my senior year, we just kept everything in the engineering classroom. I was a part of the engineering program, had an amazing professor there by the name of Mike Smith. He actually used to beat us all in Brood War. He was a huge StarCraft fan, but we played like Unreal Tournament and other games and stuff like that. But it was kind of like a constant fight actually with the school itself to allow us to do these after school gaming events. And it eventually transitioned from, you need to have a learning element, you need to do something that is more hands-on. So by actually taking the PCs into the cafeteria, setting up the space, setting up the network, installing the games, like everything was 100% from scratch, to then go to 2 years later, hey, you guys can have the engineering room because that has the best PCs in the whole school. You guys can use that to organize your events. Now, taking something as like wood shop, or like think of like the possibility, like my high school had a lot of technical classes. Like we had engineering, we had journalism, we had cosmetics, we had automotive. Woodshop was one of those things that was already kind of out the door anyway. The fact that we're seeing something that was taught in this school for so long, like woodworking had been around for so long, that now is being phased out and being transitioned into a full-time esports facility, I think is insane. And more importantly, we've stressed this fact for so long. High school and collegiate are the next step. And I think this literally straps a rocket ship onto that evolution. And seeing high schools, not only the high school district itself getting behind it, but investing so much money and converting an old facility into their esports facility is insane to see.
I've expressed my opinion about it. I think high school should be the focus on something like this. I see the potential in college, but I honestly think high school is where the focus needs to be. And I love seeing something like this. This is something that when I was going to school, and I'm a little bit younger than you, but I couldn't talk the school in for anything gaming related, because I happened to be living in an area that doesn't accept video games, and they refused. And until they saw like an actual pull, like it was enough of a pull to where they were getting less tickets for their football games on Friday nights because of our LAN. And they wanted us to form a club, and they wanted us to move the night, but we refused to move the night because we wanted to stick it to the man. But I do think something like this is great. I think something like this is needed. This gives plenty of players an opportunity, especially in this area, to compete in an environment like this. I think competing in an environment like this is super special. I hope they kind of, I hope this facility allows a little bit of trash talk. Obviously, it's high school, so they'll probably keep it down a little bit, but I hope they do invite fans, obviously, when we can, and then they invite trash talk a little bit. They're going to allow these players to stand up and let the other team know it's good. And I think that's a very important environment. It's like esports is like many other sports, and the competitive environment of playing against someone in person is a very real thing that you learn super fast. I remember the first day. I mean, I was really young, but I remember the first time I sat down on LAN and someone stood up, pointed at me, and told me I was bad. I was like, oh no, this is not what's happening tonight. This is. I remember like I felt a little bit different. Like I had to mentally get over that, and there is a mental strength that you develop over time when you get put in that environment over and over and over again. And I think a facility like this will produce the best players in the country.
Well, and I think that to take the opposite view at that, look at all the like camaraderie they're going to build with this.
Oh, yeah.
The whole purpose I even started doing LANs was just as a means to like get people together and
Yep.
hang out and make friends and play games. Like, yeah, there were tournaments and there was this competitive aspect to it, but like the other thing with it now is like with it being an official function of the high school, like I guarantee you're going to have to maintain a certain GPA.
Yep.
You are going to get, some kind of like credits as far as extracurriculars and after school events like that. Think of all the programs that now can be featured in this. Like, hey, do you want to learn how to stream on Twitch? Do you want to learn how to be a commentator? Like, it's not just the play aspect of it
Right.
as well. There's so many functions in this that lend well to actually learning experiences.
Analyst,
Yeah.
Referee. You can even referee. Like, you can now develop all these talents, and you can develop this whole industry that camera people. I mean, like, you can lighting, sound, that knowledge and that skill will be transferable into other fields, not just esports. I think that's very underrated.
I would love to see this roll out to the point to where it's the facility isn't estimated to be open until I think it's August of next year, but they're already planning out like content schedule as far as things they're going to do. But like taking the kids that perform really well and show enough initiative, with them being based in California, hey, we're going to do a field trip down to Riot Games and we're going to check out, you're going to get to meet the game designers or Blizzard or, what other,
or we're going to go to a CDL event.
Like yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think this is a great opportunity. Speaking of events and being in person, are you ready to move on, or you got a final word for this one?
Oh, I'm just saying there's so much potential here. And I think that this is, obviously like $1.5 million to build this facility. Not every school district is going to have that.
Right.
But hopefully they'll see just the potential that comes out of this.
Right. Yeah, this is crazy. I'm super, super excited. But speaking of in-person events, this next one might possibly be the first this year. We haven't really, on a major scale, on a professional scale like this, we haven't really seen this.
Yeah, this one definitely has a lot more moving pieces. I announced it when the news broke a couple of weeks ago, but don't forget this weekend we have the Capcom Cup Finals. This is going to feature February 19th. It's going to have the Street Fighter League Finals. Again, that's their 3v3 teams format. And then on the 20th and the 21st, we're going to actually see the season final for Street Fighter V officially. A lot of players. It's taking place in the Dominican Republic. It's actually at the Hard Rock Casino that's there as well. All the players are going to be in attendance. There will not be a fan component. It's not open to the public.
Okay.
I assume there'll probably be a couple stragglers and the players themselves, like obviously sitting in the crowd. But again, this is a live finals. We've seen it happen like PUBG Mobile. We saw it happen like kind of with like League of Legends as they were getting ready for Worlds. Like this is a live in-person event. And so far, everything they've set up should be very exciting, especially like you said, with this being a fighting game and with that many players in attendance, who knows what it's going to like kind of shape up and look like, but it's going to be exciting. Street Fighter also just dropped a bunch of new news. We've got the new characters are coming in. We've got another patch. We actually have the V shift, which is kind of like the defensive component that they just added. It's kind of like a parry move.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see how this finals shapes up, and then how quickly they're going to get into this next season, specifically with it being online.
Right.
But it's going to be it's going to be fun to watch.
I'm super excited. I'm excited to see, obviously I'm not going to be in the crowd, but I'm excited to see a live FGC event because the emotions, they always run high at FGC events. There's always a lot of passion in these players. I'm super excited to see that expressed. I'm interested to see how the production does. I think the production's going to have to kind of kill it because usually the best part about FGC events is the crowd. So I just hope they do a phenomenal job with production. Obviously, we'll find out this weekend. And then it's on Twitch, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Sweet.
Capcom Fighters.
We're gonna go ahead and move on to my upcoming event. I cheated again. I have 2 upcoming events. LFTG Halo 5 Invitational. The first qualifier will be happening this Sunday at 12. If it changes, I'll obviously let everybody in the Discord know. But I think this one's still going to be a go. I'm working on getting Fridays off at my other job again. I'm gonna poke the bear again. So the rest of the qualifiers might be on Friday, but this one will for sure be this Sunday at noon. Twitch.tv/LFTG official. Super excited. You guys can go to lftgofficial.com/events. Click on the Halo picture, and then you can join our Discord and to follow all the off-screen action there as well. Possibly join the event. This event is free to enter. There is a cash prize, and then the top 2 teams will qualify for the event. Single elimination. But I'm super hyped. Last season we had a lot of really, really tough teams come through. And then obviously my last and final event, you already know what it is. It is CDL this weekend. Watch it. We already went through it. I'm not going to talk about it too much. YouTube.com/Call of Duty. Call of Duty League, I should say. YouTube.com/Call of Duty League. But yeah, I'm excited overall. I think we had a lot of great news. A lot of CDL coverage. Hopefully there's not as much news this next time around. Hopefully we can just talk about the predictions and the matches that happened. I'm thinking about possibly shortening the Challengers segment. So let us know if we should. But we're on time still, so I'm not freaking out too much about it. But yeah, what is there any extra pieces of news besides we have the new Smash Brothers character? Nintendo, the same team behind Mario Kart, is doing Knockout City, which is a multiplayer dodgeball game. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, it looks funky.
Yeah. Besides that, I don't. Oh yeah, and also the broke the world. It's Timmy broke the world record in Apex Legends for damage in a single game, which is over 9,000 damage, 9,069 damage. Pretty memey. Mithra, yeah, that's really all extra that I have. Nothing too crazy.
The only thing extra that I wanted to throw in there is I want to give a big shout out to the crew over at .emu. They're the publisher for Windjammers. Since the Windjammers 2 demo has finished, they're doing every week. They're releasing a new Meet the Community feature on the Steam page. You guys can go check it out. I was featured this past week, so if you guys want to check out an interview with myself, it's all text-based. You just have to go through and read it. But it's super cool. I think it's great. Anytime you get a publisher that's like really in tune with the community, and wanting to keep everybody really active. Like even though the game, like the demo came and went, like the community is still just as active. So super cool to see. They had the first interview is with a very prolific French player. They had myself and then Frankie Sisto, who, if you guys have ever been to a fighting game event, he's the guy running around with the megaphone. He's been doing a lot of commentary for Windjammers. He plays Windjammers, also for Battle for the Grid, Pokken Tournament, just kind of all over the place too. So that was super neat to kind of get not only the kind of recognition as far as being like a prolific community member, but then also too like getting to read everybody else's interviews, as the weeks go on.
Right. Yeah, I'm super. Yeah, I got to read your interview. Send me the link, obviously, in the Discord, so I can read up on that. But I'm super excited for Windjammers, man. A lot of good stuff.
It's fun stuff, man.
Fun stuff.
Super good game.
Good stuff this week. I'm tired. I mean, actually, it's not that late. It's only 9:30. I almost said 7:30. It's only 9:30.
It feels it feels way later than it should.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
We got a little bit of snow over this last weekend, but the sun came through this week and melted it. So it's already, can't tell there was any snow. The grass is just green. We went and looked at houses, so you guys might hear in the next month or so, you guys might see a new background, change of background.
It's always exciting. It's right. It's a good time for the market.
Stressful, dude.
I don't know if it's actually a good time for the market. That's just what I hear everybody say.
No, it's good. It's good. But it's just super stressful. But yeah, everyone, remember twitch.tv/LFTG official this weekend. Go to LFTGofficial.com. You can buy merch, join our Discords, all that fun stuff. Follow our social medias. But you know what? Wait, I got to do something. I always forget to do this, but I'm not going to forget it today.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to forget it today. Go ahead and wind up on our 21st episode. 21 consecutive weeks we ain't stopping. Can't stop, won't stop. Of the LFTG podcast. I just want to say I feel like a bird flying with the wind. I don't really have to flap my wings. I can just lift my head up and just glide in the air and just look down at all the amazing esports news that we can encounter over the week and go, oh, that one's pretty interesting. Oh, I like that one too. Maybe fly down a little bit. Just kidding. I'm a hawk. I dive. I grab that esports news off the ground. I fly back up and I take it back to my nest and I rip it apart. I dig into it and then I feed it to my kids. I go, spit it into my kid's mouth. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the LFTG podcast, episode 21. I am your host, Refresh, and this is my host sitting next to me, kind of. Not really, but always is the fantastic Mr. Wonderful
Mohawkmike.
I love it. I love it so much. It's my favorite outro. Alright, we will see you guys next week. Episode 22, baby.
We're almost halfway through a year. A whole year.
Alright, you guys have a good night. Bye.
Goodbye.